Ro Khanna, claiming the IDF detained him. Well, that entire story is a hoax and got blown up during this interview on Fox News. Not only did he get caught in the lie, but I think he released video footage contradicting exactly what happened here. Let's take a look.
Well, Congressman Ro Khanna says he was detained by Israeli settlers in the West Bank last week. He is accusing the Israeli military, the IDF, of lying about the incident. The California Democrat posting, quote, Israeli settlers brandishing American-made M4s detained me and other Americans on my trip to Palestine. When the IDF arrived, they sided with the settlers and continued our detention. They made a huge mistake. The IDF, though, has a different version of what went down. They released a statement that reads in part, IDF troops were dispatched to the scene, quickly dispersed the Israeli civilians, and reopened the blocked road. The IDF soldiers operating in the area did not take part in blocking that road.
Okay, so let's understand in layman's terms what's going on here. Number one, Ro Khanna once again is finding ways to stay in the news, get attention because he wants to run for the presidency. What better way to do that than to capitalize on the anti-Israel sentiment by going to Palestine? And when you are traveling on a road that is restricted by the local settlers and you are stopped so they can verify you are who you say you are and why you are going where you are and whether or not you got authorization to travel this route, he's using all that to say that he was detained. Number two, the other thing about this entire story is you're in a country that you have no citizenship to. Just because you're an American, who are you to travel to Palestine? Who are you to enter restricted areas? Just because you're a member of Congress, that doesn't mean that. So does the local citizens of that area and the IDF have authorization to verify people are who they say they are? Of course they do. But this is what politicians do. So let me at least show you the video footage that his team released of him getting detained.
מה קורה חבר'ה? דיברנו עם מי הפקד הפטרול? מי? דיברנו עם המשטרה ואמרו פשוט תזיזו אותם כדי שאנחנו נוכל לצאת, זה לא במה באף. אבל הרגע דיברתי עם השוטר בטלפון. לא, אבל הוא אמר שהוא הולך להתעכב. אז אתם יכולים לעלות מול החמ"ל ולטפל בזה, כי אנחנו דיברנו כבר. יש פה חבר קונגרס שדיבר יש פה חבר קונגרס אמריקאי. יש פה חבר קונגרס.
Yeah, so I think we're seeing what's happening. I mean, is this really about stopping a member of Congress because he's anti-Israel? Or is this more about why is someone traveling in our area without notifying us? We need to verify they are who they say they are. And not only that, we want to hear it from the authorities, right? Which would be the IDF, who came and cleared the way. But again, that doesn't stop Ro Khanna from blowing this up in an effort to, as I said, capitalize on this politically. And let me just show you this interview between him and this Fox News host, which really went off the rails.
Know that going into a restricted military area guarded by local security forces was going to result in your entourage getting stopped?
It was not a area that was restricted by military. American Congress people had been there before. We went with
prior coordination.
Waterman. If I could just finish, please, because this should be an outrage to any American citizen. What happened? We were there seeing the Zanuda village, which Yanan Levy had destroyed.
Okay, I'm sorry. Why would this be an outrage for the average American? Why are you even over there? The outrage for the average American is, why are members of Congress going to the Middle East? Don't we have more problems here? I don't know, sanctuary city status, soft on crime policies leading to needless murders every single week. We talk about them on the show. You cry about affordability. Where are you at? Why aren't you checking out housing areas, across the country and talking to contractors? No, you're in the Middle East. What outrage is that exactly? And by the way, you're on Fox News the very next day in your nice suit, in your nice studio. It seems like nothing really happened to you, okay? It wasn't like he was kidnapped, all right, and starved for 72 hours. Again, this guy's a joke.
Destroyed, burned to the ground. Many American members of Congress had been there before. We drove up to the road, and these hoodlums with M4s circled our van. They started kicking the tires. They yelled insults. They said it didn't matter that we were Americans. And then the IDF came and they blocked the road. There's breaking news video camera released just this morning that shows those IDF officers siding with the settlers against the Americans. Many, even conservatives, have said, how dare they do this to an American passport?
Nobody said that. Well, again, he refused to coordinate his travel. So that's one issue there. What do you want the local settlers to do? Just act stupid? No. Unless someone told them that you were coming, of course they're going to respond that way. And again, it's not like they put a gun to his head, forced him out of the vehicle, slammed him on his knees, put handcuffs on him in the hot sun. None of that happened. This is like a Hollywood show right now, a reality TV show, trying to find a way to score a political headline. Because remember, Ro Khanna was one of the fiercest defender of who? The alleged rapist, Graham Plattner. So what better way to move on from that disastrous outcome for him politically than to do this right here? I think that's exactly what's happening. My own personal opinion, of course.
They're not just me, for Americans, and we need the arrest of these people who detained us, who threatened our lives.
Congressman, it is disingenuous to call those local security officials random settlers. These are people who operate in the area regularly. Further, sir, I have to point out to you that other members of Congress have visited this area, but with prior coordination, we understand that your team did not do that.
That's false. We had informed the Israeli embassy. The only reason our lives are saved is because of the excellent work of the American embassy. David Brownstein, who also can talk about this, had first told us just don't engage with these violent settlers, and we tell them you're one with the American.
Because the bottom line is, America has turned 250 years old like this. He wants the headlines. He's Gavin Newsom, essentially, okay? They're looking for anything that they can capitalize on to bring attention to themselves, to galvanize the base, as it said, or as they say, because they want to run for president. And so a lot of this is not about whether Ro Khanna believes this is right or wrong, or whether he really stands firm in his beliefs. No, he doesn't. This man is beyond wealthy. He's doing just fine. His next thing is, I want to become the president, so what do I got to do to make that happen? Not, hey, I want to make sure the people that elected me, the American people, are taken care of. That's not his top priority. Now, again, personal opinion, so let me show you someone who is contradicting his account. This is the U.S. ambassador to Israel. And of course, if you're anti-Israel, you're not going to believe anything this guy says. But I guess the question is, who are you more likely to believe at this point? Ro Khanna or the ambassador to Israel?
We reached out to him when we heard he was going to Israel, the Israeli embassy here in Washington. We suggested he visit with survivors of the October 7th massacre, that he visit the borders so he understands the issues that we have on our borders. He ignored that, and he decided to coordinate his trip not with Israel, but with Palestinian activists and with J Street, which is a anti-government, anti-Israeli government advocacy group here in Washington.
Sir, why did you not coordinate with Israel on this, knowing they're staunch allies of the United States, knowing the recent history of the October 7th massacre, and most importantly, why did you decline to meet with Jewish survivors of the Hamas terror attacks on October 7th?
The ambassador is lying. We did inform
Sir, at a certain point, if everybody is lying, but just, sir, you have now said the ambassador is lying, the IDF is lying, the U.S. Embassy is lying. At a certain
the U.S.
point,
Embassy I praised. I praised the U.S. Embassy. The ambassador is blatantly lying. And the reality is that we coordinated with Israel. How did I get through and
What
back?
is he looking at?
I had been to Israel 3 times before. I met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, before I met with Prime...
He's done. As you can see, this interview went up in flames. But, I mean, this guy's hopping from one political thing to the next. Remember, at a certain point, it was about Doge and Elon Musk, right? And then it was about Epstein, right? And then it was about Elon Musk again. He's too rich. We need to investigate him. He wants to lock me up. And then it was about defending Graham Plattner. And now it's about, someone stopped me from entering Palestine, and they held me against my will, and it was so dramatic, and they put guns to my head, and I couldn't eat, and there was no way for me to drink any water, and it was hot. I mean, this is who this guy is. We cannot take him seriously, but we do have to report on this because this is what they'll do. Oh, what a joke.
In the first place. Now, if you watch my previous video on this topic, you know the timeline, but let me give you the short version, because the photo only makes sense or stops making sense once you have the full picture. In June 14, paramedics get a call to Mitch McConnell's home in Washington, and the scattered audio that leaked was not a senator feeling unwell kind of call. People who heard it said it described a cardiac arrest response. His office told a different story, and their version was that he had a fall, lost consciousness briefly, and was taken to the hospital. Now, he's 84 years old. Then, silence. He spends about 4 weeks at George Washington University Hospital. He develops pneumonia while he's in there, and during that entire month we get no photo, no video, no phone call to a friendly reporter, nothing. And while McConnell is invisible, everything around him gets stranger. Senator Lindsey Graham dies suddenly from a brief illness, which puts everyone on edge about Senate seats. The governor of Kentucky, Andy Beshear, a Democrat, starts publicly demanding transparency about McConnell's condition. And keep in mind that Kentucky recently changed its laws around how a senator gets replaced, so this is not idle curiosity. McConnell's youngest daughter reportedly deletes her account on X right around this time. And the internet, being the internet, starts filling the silence with fakes. There was an AI-generated image of McConnell in a hospital bed covered in tubes, which got debunked. There was an AI video of McConnell breakdancing, which, well, I will let you judge the sincerity of that one. So by last week, the pressure for actual proof of life was enormous. And on July 12, his office finally responds with a written statement saying no broken bones, no concussion, no heart attack, no stroke, yes to pneumonia, and he intends to finish his term. And attached to that statement, this photo. So let's take a good look at, whatever this is. McConnell, smiling wide, sitting in a blue chair with a white pillows behind him, wearing a red checkered shirt and what looks like casual pants. His wife, Elaine Chao, sitting next to him in a white blouse, also smiling. And in his hands, printed pages that people identified as the sports section of the Washington Post, supposedly from that same weekend, which is the classic proof of life move, right? You hold today's newspaper and the newspaper proves the photo is recent. Well, that newspaper is exactly where the meltdown started. Because we have problem number one, and this is the most damaging one because it doesn't require any conspiracy thinking at all. People started posting side-by-side comparisons claiming this is the exact same photo his office circulated back in 2023 during a previous recovery. One of such comparisons has more than 3 million views on X. Same pose, same smile, same red checkered shirt, same blue chair, same pillows, same wife, same blouse, sitting in the same position. According to these comparisons, it is the same one. Even Grok, Elon Musk's AI, said that yes, this photo is from 2023. But there's just a big problem with all this. There is absolutely no record from anywhere that this photo was originally published in 2023. Somebody just posted it on X, made the claim that this was an old photo, and then millions of people ran with it. Even an AI hallucinated that the photo was actually from 2023 when there are no records whatsoever. And yes, I checked, I know my stuff. Then we have problem number two, the newspaper itself. because when people zoom into the pages he's holding, the text reportedly turns into garbled nonsense. And if you have spent any time around AI-generated images, you know that fine print is exactly where they fall apart. So yeah, so now you have people, including some AI detection tools, claiming the image carries Google's Synth ID watermark, which is an invisible marker that gets embedded in AI-generated content. And we have the problem number 3, the hands. And you look at the hand resting on his lap, and people are pointed at fingers that seem to merge together, proportions that look off, bends that a human finger doesn't really do. Again, hands are the other classic place where AI images break, but arthrosis can be a real thing as well. Then there's the lighting, which looks soft, and even on the faces is a way that doesn't match the harsher shadows around the pillows. There's the skin, which looks smooth out for an 84-year-old man who just spent a month in hospital with pneumonia. Was he using a TikTok beauty filter by any chance? And there's a middle ground theory that I find interesting, which says this is not a fully AI image at all. It says this is the real, quote-unquote, 2023 photo with a current newspaper digitally placed into his hands to fake the date. But we already ruled out the 2023 thing because nobody has been able to pinpoint this image published at any point in 2023. Web, social media, nowhere. Now, problem number 4 is not about pixels at all. It's about context. This is supposed to be a man in a rehabilitation facility after a fall, a month in the hospital, and pneumonia. And there's not a single piece of medical equipment in the frame. No IV line, no monitor, no hospital bracelet, no oxygen. He's in a checker shirt and casual pants, grinning like he's about to go golfing. So even people who don't believe the AI theorists looked at this and said, that doesn't look like where they told us he is. And that was my exact same reaction when I saw the photo for the first time. I thought that he was about to leave the hospital. And that includes voices you would expect to defend him, because even commentators on Fox News called the whole thing strange. And then you climb into the political theories, which say the photo is a staged move to buy time, because if McConnell can't finish his term, Kentucky's succession fight gets ugly, and the party has every incentive to project he's fine for as long as possible. And then at the top of the mountain, you have the full French. He's already gone, and this is a digital puppet. It's a body double. It's a weekend at Bernie's with a Senate seat. Someone even circulated a photo of McConnell being visited by Elvis and Michael Jackson as a way of mocking how easy these images are to fake. Now, here's my actual read on this, and it's a behavioral one, as usual. A proof of life photo has exactly one job, and that job is to end the conversation. You take a boring, verifiable, obviously current photo, ideally a video, ideally with a journalist in the room, and the story dies that same afternoon. Instead, they waited a month, released a one image with no independent witness, and that image had at least 4 elements people could attack. So whatever the truth about McConnell's health is, the behavior of the people around him is telling you they either couldn't produce something better, or they didn't think they had to. And yeah, both of those options should bother you a lot. I know I said in my previous video that none of those hearsay calls mean anything as a proof of life, and that the doubts could be dissipated with a photo. But boy, what a way to make things even more mysterious with a pic.
Because battlefield, in the skies above the battlefield, and now on the high seas. If you are sailing a vessel against the United States military and you see one of these bad boys coming at you, you're dead. Say your prayers or whatever God you got, you're finished. This is the end for you. This is what a one-way U.S. military Navy attack drone looks like. And it is terrifying. And now, for the first time ever, we have seen these bad boys in action. Ladies and gentlemen, the U.S. just deployed their fleet of unmanned suicide drone vessels for the first time against Iran. You can see a drone vessel patrolling outside of the Pentagon. They are in heavy use in the waterways of Washington, D.C. These vehicles are actionable in the field of battle. In fact, they've already saved 2 U.S. Army aviators when their Apache helicopter went down in the Gulf of Oman, marking a breakthrough milestone in unmanned search and rescue. They have 1,000 nautical miles, payload capacity of 1,000 pounds, so it's a big old bomb you can put on these things, and top speeds exceeding 35 knots, so they're very fast. You cannot really intercept them. They're 24 foot long, and they are speedy. Check this out. Here's a hype video. This is the Corsair autonomous surface vehicle. Collaborative swarms, payload bay, open architecture, track, follow, intercept targets. Fast. So what happens when you see one of these bad boys out in the open ocean? You best prepare. They're boosting production. They've already been used in the battlefield to rescue troops, and now they are being used to blow to absolute atomized ashes the Iranian Navy. U.S. uses one-way attack sea drones for the first time in Iran strikes, and we have the footage. Check this out. So this is the ports in Iran that have submarines at them. Seen here, a trio of American Corsair USVs drive up to a sub repair dock in Bandar Abbas and detonate. Check it out. Boom. 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 You're cooked, bro. Ain't no one getting repaired in these bases any longer. Freaking awesome. Look at this. So cool. What is this platform? This is a specific platform called the Corsair. This is what it looks like on a scale model. You can see here. We just played you this little hype video. But this sucker is speedy, and it is built in Texas, and it is ready to do severe damage. Awesome. Look at that. So cool. Yesterday, using multiple one-way attack surface drone, CENTCOM forces successfully struck a submarine and ship maintenance facility in Iran. 3 Corsair unmanned surface vehicles hit the port Bandar Abbas naval base, marking the first time American forces have deployed sea drones in combat operations. Last night's strikes degraded Iran's ability to continue attacking commercial ships. CENTCOM took out an Iranian ship facility using sea drones. First time this has ever happened. The strikes should finally put a dent on the attack of commercial vessels. It's like they were already in really bad shape. You can see a submarine there, though, on the platform, right? And look, you see, I mean, it's amazing to get this, like, really good footage. You can see there, right there. See that? That's a sub. That's a submarine. So they have the submarine out there, and this is how they go and lay mines and harass these ships, and it is no more. Pretty unbelievable. It's the first time ever sea drones have been used in combat. It's a wild time, man. U.S. forces use sea drones. Unclassified footage. The strikes degrade Iran's ability to project force. The first time in history, the first time American forces have employed sea drones, combat operation war is changing incredibly quickly. U.S. Navy using low-cost sea drones. Iran has tried to bait the U.S. Navy too long without success to move into their naval ships into the strait. They won't. And now these sea drones, they can now enter the strait without risking any naval forces. I mean, it changes everything. Crazy. The United States has officially seized the Iranian coast. No Iranian ships will be allowed to leave. No foreign ships will be allowed to enter unless they are carrying food. 20% tolls to be paid to the U.S. effective immediately. Donald Trump saying that he is taking over the Strait of Hormuz. This is because Strait of Hormuz traffic collapsed after Iran started shooting at ships once again. I'm not sure why they did this. They have an MOU saying they won't do this, but of course they did it. And President Trump, of course, the anniversary of Trump getting shot in the head in Butler, marked by President Trump getting more assassination attempts. When Trump tried to fly into Turkey, he was actually forced to switch planes because of an Iranian plot to kill him.
You guys hear, we got some breaking details coming into us out of Biddeford, Maine that I want to get to shortly. An ICE incident there. Now you have people rioting like you wouldn't believe. Hopefully that doesn't turn into another Minnesota type thing. Anyway, we're going to talk about that. We're also going to talk about Lindsey Graham. My gosh, I mean, I couldn't believe that, right? I got a note from a friend actually on, was it yesterday morning. I'm like, what are you talking about? Lindsey Graham is no longer with us. I couldn't believe that. And of course, a lot of questions right now, given what he was just up to, given that he was just over in Ukraine and he was going to get the Russian sanctions put back in, given that we saw what Iran was saying. I mean, look, you know, in this case, he was 71 and his dad died at 69 of a similar type thing. I mean, get your heart checked, for goodness sakes. Health is so important. We will talk all about Lindsey, and we're going to talk some more about what the plan is with Iran, because we're taking over the strait, baby. You better believe it. Oil's back up around 80, but you know what? It's going to be what it's going to be, and I have a lot to say on that. For all of you, welcome to the show. Make sure you subscribe, share, like, all that stuff. The FCC is launching, or rather, forgive me, the Congress is launching a new attack, if you would, on Mamdani. Congress wants to deport this guy, at least some key members of Congress, and they're using the latest on Iran as ammunition. You know, Chip Roy out of Texas, let me bring that a little bit closer to me. Chip Roy out of Texas has introduced this so-called Mamdani Act, that was in the last 8 weeks or so, to denaturalize and deport Marxist and Islamic fundamentalists. You get it? Mamdani? Clever. Anyway, the idea here is that it may have gone too far with concerns about, and I was going to say allegations, but they're not allegations. One of his staff members actually tried to set up a meeting with the Iranians. Whoa, okay, that's weird, right? And he's kind of in a bad position right now as he tries to run defense on this. But you have Republicans like Chip Roy coming out in blazes here saying, well, you know what? We knew we wanted to deport this guy already. Now we have more evidence. So this was the bill that had just been introduced about 8 weeks ago, called the Mamdani Act, to deport, basically denaturalize and deport, I should say, Marxist and Islamic fundamentalists. And it was, you know, also Mamdani Act of 2026. Mamdani Act enacts sweeping immigration law changes that would deport, denaturalize, deny U.S. citizenship or entry to any alien who is a member of the Socialist Party or Communist Party, the Chinese Communist Party or Islamic Fundamentalist Party, or advocates for socialism, communism, Marxism, or Islamic fundamentalism. Additionally, the legislation would create new definitions for each of these terms and repeals existing loopholes, including chain migration and fraudulent claims in current immigration law that have facilitated the mass importation of Marxists and Islamicists. Why do we continue, says Chip, to import people who hate us, not just for the last 6 years, but for the last 60 years? Our immigration system has been cynically used to disadvantage American workers' competitiveness in favor of mass importation of the third world. This has not just led to higher crime and lower wages, but also to hostile ideologies fundamentally opposed to American values. So this is now gaining some steam, in part because of what Mamdami's staff has allegedly tried to do. Let's go to, of course, the media is, out for blood. They're very critical of this, saying that Mamdami's act is a new low in nativism. Okay. Wow. So, this has come about in part because of what we've seen happening there out in Minnesota, and of course what we've got happening in Iran right now. By the way, you can't trust those guys. What did I tell you the other day? You cannot trust Iran. You can never trust Iran. They were lying to Obama and they were lying to Trump, and he is livid. He's furious. We're going to get to his comments that he made today on Iran and his plans for the Strait of Hormuz. We're going to take it over, and we're going to get paid to do it, apparently. More on that in a moment. But first, back to Chip Roy, who is really coming out swinging against Mamdami and anybody who he considers a Marxist or Islamic fundamentalist. Here is Representative Chip Roy out of Texas. Listen.
Pause immigration. Just stop it. Stop all immigration, because if it's going to be exploited for people to come here when they're pregnant, people allow somebody who's working for the Chinese Communist Party and to come here and have children to become American citizens, and then have our laws exploited like they were under the previous administration. It is why this Congress should act to pause all immigration. This Congress should act immediately to codify what the president has been doing to close the loopholes under asylum and parole, the catch and release policies, and to codify those that a future Biden and Mayorkas administration cannot do to the American people what these radical leftists did to the American people. And then dare sit here and testify under questioning by my colleagues that we need to have more taxpayer money going to the local jurisdictions to make up for what they caused.
Wow. So Mamdami has a lot of controversy, as you may know, around him. I want to get to what he may or may not have filled out on the naturalization forms. This would be Form N-400, kind of an important form, and there's an important thing that he may have not checked off that could lead to deportation. In fact, we'll get to that. But before I do, here's what's concerning about Iran. Oopsie daisy. There I am. For any of you who ever doubt that this show is live or not, here I am. The big concern right now is whether or not Mamdami is working for us or working for someone else, all right? And it doesn't even need to be overtly someone else. It doesn't need to be that he's getting paid by China. It doesn't need to be that he's on the Iran in a spy list. It could be as simple as his allegiance just isn't to America. His allegiance is to a socialist, communist philosophy that does favor the likes of Iran. So this obviously is a big concern when we get a headline like this one. A top Mamdami official tried to meet with Iran. This is Ana Maria Anchila, the commissioner for international affairs at the New York City mayor's office. She almost took a meeting with the Islamic Republic's ambassador to the UN. What is going on? I mean, not okay. Okay, just not okay. According to City Journal, the top official in the Zohran Mamdami's administration's Office for International Affairs. I mean, why the heck is he hiring people like this, you guys? Why? You're the mayor of New York City. By the way, why do you have an international affairs office? For goodness sakes, you're a little mayor of a, rather big city that's increasingly becoming smaller because everybody's leaving. Nobody wants to stay there. Financial capital of the world for how long? Until Texas takes it over, for goodness sakes, with the Texas Stock Exchange, because they got a better tax rate and they got a better government. Florida as well. Anyway, here is this lady, okay? So she's making plans to meet with the Iranian ambassador, Ana Maria Archila. She's scheduled to meet with Amir, Saeed. Oh, we could just do a whole show on Trish trying to pronounce everybody's names, right? Aravani. This is Iran's permanent representative to the UN at 2 United Nations Plaza. And so she's thinking she's just going to waltz over there, maybe bring Mamdami with her, and they can negotiate some kind of peace deal. If that's what was really being negotiated. Anyway, they were going to do this on July 7th at 11 a.m. And then somehow the State Department found out about it. Oh, yeah, Marco Rubio found out about it. Let me tell you, That's not good for Mamdani. No. It's not good for Mamdani, and it's not good for Ana Maria there, Killa, whatever, and this guy. So they were going to meet at 11 a.m. on that day, and then all of a sudden the State Department finds out, and the City Journal learned that the commissioner, well, I don't know if this is true or not, allegedly never informed the mayor. So that's what he's saying, okay? The mayor's out there like, no, I had no idea. And she's been, you notice I underlined, reprimanded for the move and directed to cancel the meeting, according to the source familiar with the office. Reprimanded. I mean, how about fired? Fire her behind, okay? Because you don't go and make, I mean, are people that dumb? I mean, or that full of themselves? Or that stupid? Or maybe they are working for the Iranians, right? For goodness sakes, why would you be making a meeting with the UN ambassador to Iran? I mean, it's unbelievable. From the New York City mayor's office, talking about a bad look, right? I mean, he's got enough problems as it is. He's seen as hugely anti-Semitic, hugely anti-capitalist, and now he's got a woman on his staff who's out there trying to court the Iranians, for goodness sakes. What a loser. Now stuck in damage control mode, right? Because his aide decided to go have a few little meetings. Now, here's the question. Like, do we give him the benefit of the doubt? I'm not willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm sorry. No. I think the fact that he's just reprimanded her, the fact that he has not fired her, the fact that she went and did this was somehow A-okay in his eyes, the fact that he hired a woman that was willing to do this is A-okay in his eyes, and she's still there. Living off of taxpayer funds, funded by the people in New York City who were stupid enough to elect this guy. I don't think he's going to get a second term. I really don't. I think that, it's all kind of coming out. But this is his doing. So now they're looking at deporting him based on the Logan Act, okay? This is the concern here. He maybe lied on his Form N-400, and he maybe has violated the Logan Act. What is the Logan Act? Well, it does not allow for any kind of interference with the State Department. Let's start there. It's illegal for any U.S. citizen without authority from the U.S. government to, 1, carry on correspondence or any kind of relationship with foreign government or its agents with the intent to influence that foreign government's measures or conduct in disputes or controversies within the U.S., or to perhaps defeat the measures of the United States. And guess what? You can get a penalty, like a fine or 3 years in federal prison. I think it's supposed to be a misdemeanor, so I don't know why you get the 3 years in federal prison, but I guess they're not messing around on this stuff. This is code 18 USC 953, and the idea here is you have one central government handling all of the foreign policy. So Marco's responsible for it, not Mamdani. Thank you very much. God help us, never Mamdani, because I'd much rather have this guy any day of the week. Thank you very much.
Iran likes to sponsor proxy groups of terrorists, and these terrorists don't care what they blow up. They blow up anything and everyone. Okay, this is who we're dealing with. Okay, this is an Iran that not long ago, through their Hezbollah proxies, blew up a Jewish center in Argentina and killed a bunch of people. This is an Iran that innovated the use of roadside bombs that killed and maimed a bunch of people, including American servicemen, but a bunch of other people. This is an Iran that has organized the assassinations and the attempted assassinations of people all over the world, including civilians and dissidents and people they don't agree with. There is no nation on earth that sponsors more terrorism than Iran, and they've spent millions and millions of dollars sponsoring terrorism and targeting individuals all over the world, and including civilians have been caught up in that. Okay, that's what Iran has done. They didn't spend their millions and millions on building roads and bridges and improving the life of their people. That's why their people are always in the street protesting, because their economy's been in shambles, because they don't invest in their economy. They would rather invest in Hezbollah. They would rather invest in the rapists and the murderers of Hamas. They would rather invest in those groups than they do in their own people. That's what Iran invests in. And that's what you should be asking me about. That's what the BBC should be covering. And that's what these other media outlets should be covering, is how evil these people are in Iran and the damage they've done to people all over the world. The world's leading sponsor of terrorism is Iran. And look what they're doing now. They are holding hostage civilian vessels, including ships that have now been stuck in the Persian Gulf. They've laid mines in an international waterway. finding a peace.
Well, no, we're not committed anymore. So that was from maybe 10 days ago or so. You got to keep up. You got to be fast around here. We're not committed anymore. We're right back to the starting point of Iran is very, very evil, and we are not going to allow for them to take over the Strait of Hormuz. So we're leaving that embargo. I have a whole theory on what we can do and what we should do, and we'll get to that in a second. But before I digress, just so you know, there's this thing called the application for naturalization, USCIS form N400, and in this particular form, it's like 14 pages long. You have to fill out all kinds of information on who you are and who you've been. Okay, so Mamdani, they asked you specifically, they asked you whether or not you would have done anything in your past that would have put you at odds, effectively, right, with being a U.S. citizen. In other words, have you ever had anything to do with a terror organization? Have you ever been involved in any group, a group that was against the U.S.? I think this would be on page 7, if you would, of 14. Gosh. So you, as I understand, Mr. Mamdani, produced, acted, sang in some little rap song. And in that rap song, you were praising Hamas. And then, well, let's see if I can find the exact one, because it's like, have you ever ordered, incited, called for, committed, assisted, helped with, or otherwise participated in any of the following: torture, genocide, killing or trying to kill a person, intentionally or severely injuring or trying to injure another person? I mean, it goes on, not letting someone practice his or her religion, harming, causing harm or suffering to any person because of his or her race, religion, national. So you do realize that, if you're kind of promoting a terror organization in your rap song, I think you probably are in violation of like a lot of these. I'm just going out on a limb here. If you were to have filled out this form correctly, and if you didn't fill out the form correctly, then guess what? Oh, we can deport you. So have you ever received any, well, he didn't have weapons training, so he's okay on that one, but were you ever part of a group, or did you ever help any group, unit, or organization? Ah, I see. So this could be a problem right there. Number 10A. He was not truthful on this. On top of which, he didn't come clean on his communist association with that little group that he's part of now that's trying to take over American politics. But apparently some Democrats, I saw some sound from Gavin Newsom today, are suddenly fine with. Big tent, my you know what. Okay, people, no. You don't want these crazy Marxists, they hate America, in there. You see what's happened, though? You know why this is going on? It's because, I'll tell you, Donald Trump is too smart for all of them. Donald Trump comes along and he's suddenly like pro-working class. Let's get wages up. Let's get rid of not only NAFTA. I'm willing to tear up not just NAFTA, but my own trade deal that I did with Mexico and Canada, because it's up for renewal and I don't think we're getting a good enough deal. So he just tore that one up the other day, and the next thing you know, Toyota leaves Mexico, reconvenes in Texas with a big investment of $3.5 billion. Now, how's that for helping the working people? You wonder why unions are now saying, we're out of here? I mean, you get one of the union chiefs saying, I don't want anything to do with this guy, and our members don't want anything to do with this guy, because why do we want somebody who embraces socialism? We don't want Mamdani in New York. And I'm just saying, the deportation thing could be a very big deal, because he was not truthful from what I can tell. And this is something Andy Ogles has been making a big deal out of, right? Andy Ogles, actually from Tennessee, has been calling for this for some time. And now you couple together the violation of the Logan Act. I mean, you're looking at a big to-do. All right? Like, bye-bye. Zohran Mamdani, you can go back to Uganda. Really, I mean, we just don't need you here in light of your anti-Americanism. It's not going to work for us. Not at all. Meanwhile, we got all kinds of intelligence concerns we're trying to vet out. I mean, we got to worry about Mamdani and his staff putting together meetings with Iran, while simultaneously we're going to worry about Iran taking out our own president of the United States. we also have to worry about any kind of intel that's getting leaked. Because the president knew that there was a threat against his life. It's one of the reasons we now know that he changed his plane. However, the media was not to have known this. It got leaked out by someone, perhaps someone on Secret Service. I don't know. Someone in the Intel department. Somebody leaked it to the New York Times. And now they're going to find out who that leaker is, because Pete Hegseth is teaming up with Todd Blanche. You get the Department of War and the DOJ together saying enough is enough is enough. We're not going to go for this anymore. You guys are in trouble. Whoever's doing the leaking, it's got to stop, because you're putting people in harm's way. I'm getting to that. But first, keep in mind what the president was saying. The party line. I mean, he's like, yeah, it's a threat. But he had a whole different line about the plane as he departed Turkey going into the weekend. Watch.
Except we sent it a little early. Same line, going back. We sent it a little bit early so that we could let them see it. The whole base came out and saw the plane, and then we landed.
Do you know why they had us close our window blinds? That was not usual.
Well, yeah, because you're probably on a dangerous flight because of the sleaze bags that we have to deal with.
So you think that Iran was possibly thinking of trying
Well, I mean, if they asked you to close your windows, probably they feel that way. They didn't ask me to close mine, but if they did, I would have done it. You know, these are sick people, so I could see something like that. I didn't know they did that, but I could see something like that.
Were you aware of any credible threat by Iran against Air Force
Well, I have a threat all the time. I'm number one on their list before you. But if I go, you go, right?
But was there a specific
So perhaps,
threat today?
perhaps someday you want to change professions.
You know, maybe you should rethink this media thing, especially flying on board Air Force One. Wow. Okay, so you can see he's telling one story. He's kind of like, yeah, you know, like this threat has always existed. Nothing new. Thank you very much. But it had been ratcheted up because apparently the Secret Service did not want him flying on that particular plane, which was the one that had been gifted by Qatar, because of concerns that it didn't have the same protections should the Iranians try and shoot him down. And then we learned that Israel had very specific intel that, in fact, that's exactly what they were trying to do. So now they're trying to figure out who leaked that to the New York Times. Now, before you say, oh, you know, gosh darn it, the poor media, I'm going to tell you this. Nobody should be leaking that information. No, because that's actually a matter of national security. So over the weekend, Jay Clayton came out and he subpoenaed the New York Times. And everyone's like, oh my gosh. Okay. They're probably going to have to divulge that information because this is actually serious enough. Because if someone on the team tell the New York Times, then maybe they'd be willing to tell others.
We're at our last stop in Hampton, Georgia. We're going to see that by a LG top loader. See what I can do for my man, and then we're headed home once I get done. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this video. Cut this off, and we'll probably start another video when I come back out. Okay.